Dear learners, welcome again to the course on Health Economics offered at Level 4, Semester 2 in the BA degree in Social Sciences program. This is the second part of the pre-course session. If you can recollect what we discussed in our previous session, where we tried to understand some of the fundamentals that we are learning in the subject area of economics. I hope you have attempted the pre-activity quiz that we had provided to you. Through that activity, we are sure that you were able to recollect your memories regarding the fundamentals of economics that you have studied in the first year of the degree program, and also be able to apply them in the area of health economics. So today we will be continuing our discussion on the pre-course session by talking about another key concept that we are trying to focus, which is on opportunity cost. Today also I have with me Mr. Wijetunga and Dr. Shanta Abesinghe to facilitate this discussion on the area of opportunity cost and its practical application. Mr. Wijetunga, now in our previous discussion also, we tried to define what opportunity cost is and how it is important in the area of economics. Can we move ahead now? How can we apply this concept of opportunity cost?
Yes, Tulani and dear friends, do you remember in our first segment we are talking about this concept and we end up somewhere opportunity cost. In this segment we are going to talk more on opportunity cost and its application. Generally, opportunity cost is a thing we give up is called opportunity cost of our choice. Now, in opportunity cost, as I explained in the first segment, it is something foregone. That means if you have two choices, end of the day, you are compelled to pick up one because your resources are limited. Therefore, that foregone choice is called opportunity cost. It can occur at a different level. It can occur in production level, in consumption level, and in investment level. Now, for example, in a production level, say in agriculture, say farmer want to produce, say something, paddy and vegetables. Because land is limited, labor is limited. Therefore, they can't produce everything what is available in the land. So they have to pick up either the vegetables or rice or combination of both. In consumption, also very important. Now, individual level, our income is limited. Now, for example, suppose if I want to buy a 2 sarees for my wife, okay, but my income, monthly income is limited. I can't buy both. I have to sacrifice one saree. That is called opportunity cost. Similarly, in investment, now you know every government, when they come to the budget, they have to allocate their limited resources. One for agriculture, one for the industry, one for services and so forth. But they can't put all the resources in one segment, agriculture, because they have to produce the other goods through industry and service sector. Therefore, they have to sacrifice some commodities in order to develop the economy. So, in that sense, opportunity cost apply each and every segment in the society. It could be production side or consumption side and investment. Now, if you look at this diagram, it's very powerful diagram. Students like this diagram. Now, for example, in first segment, we stop somewhere choices. Then, suppose we have two best choices. In two best choices, because my limited resources, I have to sacrifice one area in order to select my interested or utility area. That is called opportunity cost. So, in order to extract or illustrate this opportunity cost, in economics we use a lot of diagrams and data. Not like in social science in other subjects. In economics, it's a very powerful diagram and figures. Now, for example, one of the very powerful diagram, or we call it production possibility curve, is a model which is used intensively to understand this a particular segment of opportunity cost. Because production possibility curve is a graph showing the various combination of, say, two goods that an economy is able to produce with a fixed resources. Now, what does that mean? Like on other economics model, the PPC or production possibility curve is based on assumption that simplify the economic interaction. Whether we use in health economics or agriculture economics or urban economics, in economics we use a lot of model. But before we use the model, we have a set of assumption without which very difficult to apply the assumption. What are these assumptions with regard to PPC? Now, first one is, as I mentioned, resources are fixed. What does that mean? Resources are fixed since when you draw this model, we assume during our exercises, resources are fixed. In other words, this inside of this diagram, we say the resources are fixed. Other one is, sorry, yes, inside of the curve. Very good. Now, other one is, we say all resources are fully used, fully employed. Nothing is left. So that is our second assumption. Third one here in this model, that is a PPC curve model, we use only two things. So two commodities, can be two commodities or two services. And fourth one is a technology is fixed during this exercise. So when you use the production possibility curve as a model, we assume during that period technology is fixed. Final one, each of the good can be produced using changing ratio of the factors of production. What do you mean by factors of production? It could be land or labor or capital or entrepreneurial skill and so forth. We can combine these limited resources. That is called, we produce using change ratio of factors of production. Now, in other words, Dulani, these areas, this assumption, very crucial when you apply production possibility curve. Now, in other words, if we can put all these assumptions inside of the diagram. In other words, when you apply this production possibility curve, we have to assume all these what is called assumption. Now, shall we have a small diagram or data in order to understand or familiarize this production possibility curve? Look at this data. Here we have food and clothing. Dulani, if you look at food items, now here we can produce, say, in terms of 1,000 tons, 100, 95, 85, 70, 50 and 0. Other on clothing we can't produce at that particular point. We can produce at 20 meters, 40, 60, 70 and 80. So suppose these are hypothetical data and we are going to convert this into the diagram, which is production possibility curve. Now, if you look at this A, very first A on the vertical curve, where we produce 100 units cloth. If you look at the F, we produce 80 meters in terms of clothing. So if you combine this curve called production possibility curve, in between, Dulani, we have different points. Now, for example, at a B, we produce 100 and, we produce 95, 20 from clothing. So likewise, we can combine both from food items and clothing. The next segment is, actually these are sub-concepts with regard to production possibility curve, because this model is very powerful, which capture a lot of concept with regard to the economics. It can be expressed about the efficiency, inefficiency and not attainable. What are these concepts mean? Now look at this diagram again. Now we are talking about the food, two commodities, food and clothing. We are talking about the production curve. We call it production possibility curve or frontier or something. We were talking about the two extreme, A and F. We talk about the different combination, B, C, D, E. But if you closely look at, you can see some letter inside of H. What does that mean? That means this economy does not reach maximum level. If it is a maximum level, that production level should be on the curve. Okay. If it's on the curve, that is called efficiency. If it is inside of the curve, like H1, it is called inefficiency. But there's another point we have G. What is that mean? That means we can't attain that level because our resources are limited. So this summarize entire economic fundamental with regard to the scarcity and so forth. So in other words, if you summarize this production possibility curve, this curve is downsloping curve, and alternative combination means B, C, D are alternative combination. Little bit from food, little bit from the clothing, something like that. And as I may explain, efficiency is nothing but if you produce on the line, that is called efficiency. If you produce inside, that is called inefficiency. If you can't reach that one because of limited resources, that is called not line. In addition to that, when you move from left to right, opportunity cost is increasing. That is, what does that mean? If you want to produce more and more cloth, your foregone sacrifice component is going higher and higher. That is called increasing opportunity cost. Yes, Tulani?
Yes, I think that is a very detailed explanation on the production possibility, the concept of production possibility, and also the practical application of this particular concept in our day-to-day lives. And through very efficient and through very powerful graphical illustrations, we managed to understand this aspect very clearly. I think earlier also, Dr. Shanta, we were trying to address this issue of opportunity cost in the health sector as well, where we tried to understand how people or healthcare providers, be it drug manufacturers or healthcare facility owners, how they are going to decide on the particular goods and services that they are hoping to produce. And in that sense also, this concept of opportunity cost becomes very vital in the health sector. Can we refresh our minds on that as well, and maybe try to take a very practical example to broaden our understanding?
Yes, Dulani, especially in Sri Lanka, we can see there are many examples where we have not optimized or not efficient in certain investments. Any investment, not only health sector, maybe airport, maybe port, harbor. When you decide to produce some projects, you have to consider whether you are achieving the optimum efficiency or not. So that is very crucial. I think we have enough experience in Sri Lanka where every day we have seen in the newspapers, even some parliamentary debates about the unwise or not according to the economic principles. Some decision makers, some authorities, they have invest certain limited resources in certain sectors. So when you come back to health sector, if there is a hospital where there are no patients, so then we are inefficient, that we are not actually producing our services in the optimum level or top of the curve of the PPC. So in that sense, we can see there is inefficiency. So likewise, the most important thing is, as an economist, we have to always remember that we have to have an optimum level of production, consumption, and investment.
Right. So I think we managed to get hold of a practical flavor into this particular area of health economics through the understanding that we got from the fundamentals or the core concepts that we are studying in the area of economics. So moving back to the PPC or the production possibility curve, one of the other important aspects with regard to that concept is how the PPC is linked with economic growth in a broader sense. How can we analyze that, Mr. Vijayadunga?
Yes, Dulani. Now, economic growth is a very broader concept. But if you simplify what is meant by economic growth is high. That means increasing our living condition of the people. Now, that can be occur at a various stage. Now, in other words, when PPC or production possibility curve shift from current condition to the right side, that means we expand our economy or we expand our economic growth. In other words, central banks say economic growth is very high. What does that mean? We have used a lot of resources. That's why we could able to shift this production possibility curve. In other words, we can talk about what can cause the PPC to shift over to the right side. It can be occur through, say, if you can find, say, additional resources, say oil. If you can find the oil, that the economic growth can be increased automatically. Living condition can be increased economically. So similarly, remember, if you can increase the technology also without expand the resources, still we can increase the production possibility curve. We don't need to new land, but we increase the productivity of the land. By doing that, we can increase that one. So these two, that is resource expansion, that means we have new land, new capital, new entrepreneurial skilled labor. We have technology means we use the more and more technology. Instead of manpower, we use the, say, computer in hands. So we call it capital intensive work. Capital, we use a lot of capital rather than labor intensive one. So in other words, if we are able to increase quantity of resources such as land, capital, labor and managerial talent, then we could also increase the economic growth. That is the idea behind the economic growth. So look at this, our previous diagram. Now, originally we have this diagram like GH. That was our original one. Now we have a new one. What is the new one? J and I1. Because of we have new land, new capital, new labor, new managerial labor. So if you can increase that one, automatically this curve will shift to the right side, enhance, you can develop the economic growth also. In addition to that, technology, as I told you, technology progress and economic growth. Advance in technology means more goods and services can be produced with the same amount of available resources. In other words, we don't need to have land expansion, but we can increase the productivity of land, introduce the machine on the land, limited resources. By doing, we can increase the economic growth. Now look at these two diagrams. The first one, look, you can see food industry and clothing industry. Here in the first diagram, technology is increased only food industry. That's a curve shift to the in terms of food side, food industry technology, not the clothing one. But if you look at the second one, clothing, curve is shift to the right, but in favor of clothing one. The technology develop that one. That is the nature of the technology development, because we can't expect simultaneously same technology develop the same ratio in the same different sectors. So that is the idea behind this what is called resource expansion and technology expansion. So this is the very good summary about with regard to the production possibility curve and economic growth.
One more comment, Mr. Vijayadunga. Are there any instances that this can shift inwards?
It can occur. Now, for example, say during the tsunami period, in the tsunami, say down south, all the what is called industries was collapsed. Therefore, you can't expect any living condition progress in the down south because of the tsunami. Tsunami affect our economy, particularly fishing industry, destroy entirely. So as a result, production possibility left to the left side. So as a result of our living condition, that particular segment of the population went down. So it can occur. Now during the World War I and II, wherever war is there, production possibility go to the left side. That is even not only the man-made disaster, but also environment, natural disaster might shift to this curve into the left side also. It occur to the left and right.
Yes, because why I asked that was because we are focusing more on how the production capacity can be improved in a particular country. But there are instances that production can also drastically drop.
Correct.
In times of maybe national emergency or natural disasters, what the reason may be. Well, now we talked about technological progress and resource expansion, two very critical areas affecting health sector also. If we are talking about improving the health standards or the health services sector in the country, how do these factors affect the health sector, Dr. Shant? I mean,
yeah, Dulani, actually we are going to focus more on this aspect in our main course. As we discuss now, for example, the laser technology. Now, once we introduce laser technology in the area of surgery, so then you can see you can cure more patients. Through that, we can increase the efficiency of health sector. It's one example, but we are going to discuss in detail in our main course after these pre-course sessions.
Right. So in this session, we managed to discuss many aspects with regard to opportunity cost and its practical application. There is a very interesting activity that has been given to you. So through the understanding that you obtain from this discussion and also going through the course material also, you will be able to successfully attempt this activity. This actually summarizes what we have discussed in the area of production possibility frontier, then opportunity cost and its practical application. By answering this particular question, you are able to recollect what you studied in this particular area. So maybe you can have a look at this video again or have a look at our course material, then attempt this activity so that you are able to have a very good understanding of how this aspect of opportunity cost is critical in the study of health economics. So with this, we are ending our discussion on the second pre-course session title, which is opportunity cost and its application. Thirdly and finally, in our next session, we are going to talk about market, which includes demand and supply. So hope we can continue our discussion in the future, similarly with the contribution of our senior resource persons, and I am thankful to Mr. Wijetunga and Dr. Shanta for taking their time off from their busy schedule to join us for this valuable discussion, and hope to see you in another video discussion. Thank you.